Oh, hello, Astor. Welcome. Good to see you again. We're hosting our Leadership Live today and Behavior Intelligence. Guest today is Astor Harris from Trinidad and Tobago. And, you and I have been working for a little while together, so it's been
Yes,
very
yeah.
exciting. And a little bit about Astor, engineering background, been an executive in multiple roles throughout your career. But you know what? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself as an introduction, and then we'll dive into our topic today: leadership intelligence.
Yes. Thank you, Nagui. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. Um, yes, my name is Astor Harris. As Nagui had indicated, my core focus initially in my career was in engineering and chemical engineering, to be precise. So I spent near 40 years in industry, but also I've made forays into various other spheres, such as finance and legal, IT, information technology, and so.
Mm,
Um, my core when I started, I was how should I say lost in my career a bit, and I recognize that your career needs to be managed. It doesn't just happen. So as a result of that, while I was core in engineering, I also made forays as I was a vice president of finance, IT, legal, and information technology in one area. Um, Also a
mm,
vice president of refining and marketing, as well as in terms of operations, I was a vice president of engineering as well as operations. So
wow, lots of experience.
yeah, and quite a bit of challenges with that experience. A number of challenges in
Hmm.
that one thing I recognize quickly is that individuals need help along the way.
Yeah.
I was fortunate that I also got help along the way from individuals who mentored me.
Hmm.
In my career, I always had a coach. From since I was a plant engineer,
Right.
I had a coach and I had several mentors. And there's
Mm.
a difference between coaching and mentorship, which we probably go through during in the podcast.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I was fortunate to have a number of coaches. And I still have a coach, and one of my coaches are speaking to me right now.
Yeah, that's really been the amazing thing whenever I meet with you and we talk and we discuss what you're doing. It's just your breadth of experience, and I like that you talk about the challenges because they're just as important to bring into what you're doing now, which is coaching, right? Uh,
Yes,
and helping leaders and so forth. The challenges are really the things that they want more of. They want to avoid those traps that you've been
yes,
through, done it, right? Hmm.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And it's about learning from others. But what's more important, while I've done personality type coaching and I've been exposed to that sort of coaching, what really drew me to Acumatch was the fact that it was behavioral based, right?
Right.
And also what was explored was the traits, the unconscious traits that really drive us to make decisions. So it was not pigeonholing me in an area to say that, okay, I was this sort of individual and would always be this type of individual and I needed to flex different styles. But it exposed my traits. So it helped me to be more aware of myself and how I behaved in certain situations. But one
Hmm.
of the key elements also is because it was based on neural plasticity. It told me that I could have rewired my brain. So those habits. Sorry, my darling wife Shanti. Sorry, those
Yeah.
nagging habits that I had. Um, it's
Mm,
like you can't teach an old dog new tricks. You just have to be willing and to put in the work.
right. Yeah. Yeah. And that language is difficult for a lot of people. You know, you and I have talked about that. And because of our engineering background, we can easily talk about reprogramming our brain or rewiring our brain. But for
Yes.
a lot of people, that language is kind of a bit freaky, right? I don't know. Do you come across that a little bit?
Yeah. It's a bit of what I call the fear, and I've learned from one of my coaches that fear is really false evidence appearing real. And it's just that we put so many barriers in ourselves, in how we see ourselves or the insufficiency. But I'm telling you today, all that you need to know is within you, and you can read books, you can better yourself, but it's really what you decide. You have to plan
Right.
and then work that plan. My father always told me, plan your work and work that plan, and
Right.
it's worked for me over the years.
Yeah.
But the
Excellent.
hesitance, yeah, that hesitance is really out from fear.
Hmm. It's again, just relating to what you're saying there. My webinar this week actually talked a lot about what you're just saying, which is, I think the quote was, um, it, if you read a lot of books and you don't act on what you learn, that's just entertainment. You're
Yeah.
reading to be entertained. You're not reading to learn and grow and develop a plan and act on that plan, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And
I recognize in my career, and I say you can either be an adjective, which you can describe a lot of things, and it show all that you know, or you can be a verb, and the verb acts, and there you prove the knowledge that you have. So
mhm,
it's really taking people from where they are adjectives, saying what they'd like to be and what they'd like to do, to where they can achieve their vision, their goals, their aspirations. And it's all within them because it's their aspirations. It's not the coach's aspirations. And that's the difference between coaching and mentoring.
right.
With the coaching, we don't give you the answers. You work for the answers,
Mhm,
right?
yeah.
But with the mentoring, yeah, we'll probably lead you and guide you. But with coaching, no. And
Mm,
you'll recognize when it's done well how much you achieve from it, as well as and the client gains from their awareness and building and achievement, and success breeds success.
yeah. And yet you can't. What's the phrase? You can't remove all that experience that you bring, right? Uh,
No, no. And that's, but you're able to compartmentalize it in the right the A sections, so that you can draw on it at the
yeah.
appropriate time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just come across as a know-it-all, and you're
Mhm.
not really achieving much, because what's the relevance? How is it relevant to the individuals or the clients that you have?
Yeah, you and I talk about puking all over a client,
Yes.
verbal diarrhea, if you like, right? And
Yeah.
we don't want to do that. So asking questions based on your experience, is that what happens? Or
Yeah. Yes. It's key. Sometimes you know the answer, but if you give the answer, that's your answer. And
hmm,
what you want is from the client, the individual who has that desire to achieve an item, to achieve a goal, to do certain things, to change. It has
mhm,
to come from within with them. So you ask a lot of questions that some may be leading, but some would be thought provoking, that you have to go back and do the research,
yeah,
as well as it's all about you. You need
mhm,
to see what you like, and
yeah,
that's it. Those of you who are listening, it's about you. It's all about you, the
yeah,
client.
yeah. It's interesting. listening, because I work with different cultures and different people from around the world. And I just wonder if you experience the same thing in the Caribbean, where leaders are looking for coaches that have experience, that have been in the trenches, even though we talk about coaching as helping the client figure it out themselves. Do you find that that's true also in the Caribbean? That they want more experienced coaches?
Yeah, I would say yes. As well as they would like coaches who empathize, who understand, and that's where the experience context comes in that you may not have gone through the same rule or routes that they have, but you know what it is to face obstacles. You know what it is to face tight deadlines. You know what it is to be stuck in your career. You know
Mhm.
what it is when the demands of the boards may change, or your employers may change, or your supervisors may change. You know how to pivot, or you know how to go through the steps that would enable you to pivot.
Mm.
And that's what we bring. That's what I bring. That's
Mm.
what the whole concept with Acumatch and your organization, Nagui. That's what you bring. So
Mhm.
yes, we have the experience, but what we do is we translate that experience to your activities so that you can gain from our experience. But
Right.
you will be walking your own road. But it's
Mhm.
just that the potential and the likelihood of success and the likelihood of becoming a great leader
Yeah.
is there. It's going to be more. We guide you, we help hold you, but we also hold you accountable. We hold you accountable. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're here to hold you accountable.
And that's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, that can be uncomfortable at times, but we're not going to leave you in a place of discomfort. We will always bring you back.
Cool. And I just want to share with people a little bit. I think one of the things that I've watched you do is you work with senior leaders, boards. Your engagement level is fairly, what's the word? It's at its more senior level. Is that your focus? Is that your goal for what you do?
I had three primary foci. Um, the Yes, the first focus for me is the senior executives, because I believe that there's a sort of deficiency in senior leadership and management, and it's not because our leaders aren't good, but it's just that they're overwhelmed, and they need to be able to packet what
Mhm.
they need to do and prioritize properly, and to be brave to, as another one of the other accreditations I have in coaching would say, jump and build your wings on the way down. You don't have to know everything.
Right, right.
You have to know who to go to get that information and be brave enough. The
Right.
other area I deal with primarily is with, say, young professionals who want to build a career, because
Mhm.
we want to create leaders. We want to create leaders, young and senior um, leader professionals who may be stuck
Yeah.
in their careers. So they need a nudge, they need some direction, they
Mhm.
need some guidance. But
Right.
they also need to do the work to see what it is they really want to do. It's not just for money. It's
Mm.
about self-achievement. It's really, how do you want managing your career? What do you want out of your career? And then the third bunch that I look at, and this is the one that is really one of the passionate parts to me. It's not the area that I spend all my time in, but it's about the youth. We are seeing in our Caribbean and throughout the region, there's a growing trend of indiscipline and violence among the youth. And
Mm.
how can we intervene? How
Right.
can we prepare the necessary coaching to them? But my core focus in terms of from the business aspect is really the senior professionals, senior leaders,
Mm.
as well as those young professionals. Because one of the teams groups that I'm right now, I'm at the chairman of the Institute of Chemical Engineers Global, the Trinidad and Tobago Management Group. And
Mm.
you meet all three of those, well, not three of them, you don't meet the violent youth, but you meet the two major
Yeah.
categories, which are the young professionals looking to see what they can do, as well as the senior leaders who may be their executives and on boards and so. So it allows me to actually scan the environment to see what the challenges are.
Mhm.
So I've
Yeah.
been able to bring the knowledge of what the challenges are into my practice.
Yeah, it's funny you left that one out because I immediately envisaged boardroom brawls.
Sometimes those happen, but they're more guided by the principles and rules. They can be teased at times, but
Yeah.
again, it's building the confidence and
Hmm.
knowing what your stand is,
Hmm.
uh, so that when you go into those boardrooms and you do find or into any other situation, and you meet a really difficult and challenging item, how do you deal with it? Do you run scared? Do you stutter? Or do you stand and really think about what is the best action that you can do to bring value? Because you have to bring value to the board members or to the organization that you belong to or to yourselves and your family.
Yeah.
It's about also it's not just about work, it's holistic. It could
Hmm.
be used also for those who have blocks in items that they want to do in terms of a hobby or sport, or
Hmm.
it's versatile. But it's about you doing the work. It's about you recognizing and becoming aware of how your subconscious mind works, because that's where you make most of your decisions. Most of
Yeah.
your decisions are made in the subconscious and then come to the fore, right?
Hmm. Um, I have a couple of questions rolling in my head, but one of them is really, what are the patterns that you're seeing in your region with the companies? Oil is going through the roof down there. Um, what are some of the trends that are occurring that are creating challenges, whether it's cultural or it's just economically based.
Yeah. One, there's the need for greater efficiencies in what we do. And that's getting the efficiencies with the resources you have.
Mm.
And that can sometimes within a time frame or demand, because you don't have infinite time to make the decisions or to develop your plans. One of my coaches, and I refer to all my other coaches, said you can't boil the ocean, but you can boil a teacup at a time, one teacup at a time. So you
Right.
can start off with looking at what your major challenges are. What are the strategic directions, the strategic imperatives? Yes, we have in neighboring territories a lot of oil booming. Trinidad was once a net energy exporter. We are no longer in that place, and that brings with it certain cultural challenges in terms of a number of things may have been subsidized before, like
Right.
electricity and water. So the cost of living is going up.
Mm.
Items are more expensive. There are more people on the bread line because they're not jobs. So this is one way you get a coach
Yeah.
and you get to fit and
Hmm.
pivot into what the current environment or the environment in the future needs,
Yeah.
right?
And it's about
AI,
behavior. Sorry.
no, AI is coming in. A lot of
Mm.
people are scared of AI and say it's to replace people. That's one perspective. But AI can bring about efficiencies to businesses, right?
Mm.
Where you can automate a number of things. And rather than firing your employees, you can assign them to various tasks. So other tasks and retrain them so that you improve the capacity of your business. So you can do more with the same resources that you have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's a
Skilling.
tool.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And with this transition, to pivot, and there's cultural shifts going on there. Are you finding uh, leaders needing to learn more about the impact of their behavior, their emotional intelligence, empathy?
Yeah.
What's going on in that area?
Yeah, well, they're seeing it from the population that is becoming more and more vocal, as well as with all the multimedia and access to cell phones, access to videos. We recently had an election, and I mean, I'm not going to go into the pros, who I voted for and who I didn't vote for, but the actions of certain leaders before and the behaviors was manifested in the results of the election,
Right.
where
Mm.
people left their traditional ways of voting and voted differently because
Mhm.
they felt aggrieved. So yes, as a leader, and this is something I had to be conscious of throughout my career. When there are, as a leader, there are no off the record conversations with those who are subordinates to you. You have to recognize that because
Right.
you may say something that comes across as a promise and they expect you to deliver on that. So,
Mhm.
as a leader, you have to be conscious of who you are being at all times, as
Mhm.
well as you have to empathize with those who you are in charge of and be inclusive in the decision making, and change your culture. If you're in an organization, you need to, as a leader, that culture has to be changed to one of a learning environment. Just as we can have these sort of discussions, you need to expose your senior managers, your managers, your supervisors, your workers on the floor. They must be exposed to different learnings and to build also the culture that you want. So you have to be speaking that language. But first you must know what is the culture you want.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to know that. Yeah.
And I know you're a great advocate of Acumatch, and not to really push that point too much, but how's that helping you with what you're doing with leaders, etc.?
Yeah, it's helped me. First of all, it's helped me personally. I went through a transition around 2018
Mm.
where I was probably say that I was a wonder kid in that everything I touched was successful. So I probably had a bit of arrogance, and I went into a how shall I say, I was responsible for a certain job and to transition as at an executive level, and I fell flat on my face. I thought
Wow.
we were getting through, but we did not get through in time because timeliness is also important, not the good results. You can have
Mhm.
good results, but it must be in the right time. And I fell flat on my face. And I just withdrew it in myself, withdrew from from certain levels of management and so. And then I picked up on the certification. I used my time to do certification and getting the coaching. And also when I did the Acumatch, I realized because you were my coach in Acumatch, I realized that there were certain traits I had that were barriers to me. And the approach you took was not, we don't fix people. No, you're not broken, but we help you to realize what are your strengths that you can go forward with, but also what are the barriers that may be keeping you back.
Yeah.
And with Acumatch, because it uses, it maps at your subconscious the traits, it maps the traits that you exhibit in your subconscious brain. You're able to really laser focus, pinpoint, and you don't brand everyone into a personality typing. No, but it's an individual
Yeah.
type of report you get. And not only report, but it gives you the ability to see the various traits that you have
Mm.
and to work on them. What are the things you go to too much or your rackets, but also what are the items you don't use enough? How do
Yeah.
you relate to people? How do
Mm.
you it also shows you how you learn things, whether you're visual, whether you go by hearing, whether you have to learn things with your hands and doing. All right. I see
Hmm.
there's some questions coming in, Nagi.
Okay. I
Yeah.
That's good.
There's one that says, how does a junior employee go about eliciting change by engaging the support of senior leaders, since junior employees have no flat power and which to mandate with which to mandate change? Um, that's interesting. The thing is, and that's what we're saying with the trade development. It's how do you relate to your supervisors? There are some individuals, because of your traits, you will never go to a supervisor or a manager or executive and tell them or give them some examples or tell them, you let them know what your feeling is on what could be done better at the ground, because on the ground the individuals know and how it may be linked to, but you have to be able to speak the language too, how it may be linked to the strategic direction of the organization. Yes, you have to learn the language. If you're going to speak to an executive, learn to speak the language. You don't have to be that fluent in it, but learn
Mm.
to be able to bring your points across.
Yeah.
And with the Acumatch and the traits, it helps you to identify whether you're visionary, because this deals with that aspect that you're speaking about, Dale. Whether you're visionary, whether you are in the present, or whether you are future, and whether you're an option thinker, that means you can bring options towards them, or whether you really just consistent or consistently you want to stay, you don't want things to change. So there needs to be work by the junior employee first, so that they can frame the questions as well as the conversation they'd like to have. But again,
Yeah.
um, you have to know or look at the executive you're approaching, or the senior or the supervisor, to know how and what language to approach them with, so that they will be receptive. Because
Mm.
if you go in dead right and tell someone, hey, you did rubbish, so they turn off one time. So it can be done,
Yeah.
yes, but you have to take your power. It's about taking your power. And that's what this is about. It's
Yeah.
about you knowing yourself and becoming aware of yourself. So you know the power that
Yeah.
is in you, and you know your strengths. You know how to communicate. You know yourself.
Astor, I heard you use a lot of the traits, I guess, that we have in Acumatch, and you're talking about those in the context of learning a new language, right? Uh,
Yes, yes. Um,
so, so
the
when
language is powerful. Yes. Yes, Nagi.
No, no, I was just going to follow up with a question and say, when you're working with someone, and it could be a junior or senior, there's managing upwards and managing downwards, right? The language needs to be right. So Acumatch gave you the tools to learn that language.
Yes. You get the tools, because you have to know if you're speaking to someone who is a towards. So that means someone who likes to be around people and engages with individuals, or if they are away, they're more within themselves. You
Hmm.
also know whether they're internal thinkers, so they take things in and they make decisions on them or themselves, or are they external, where they approach others and
Right.
they're open to others bringing information to them. All right. Also, you have individuals who are reflective. Like I was very reflective. I was too reflective. As I said, being an adjective rather than a verb. So you have all the good ideas, but they remain ideas and you don't execute in a timely manner. Yes, Nagui, what you were saying?
So I was going to say, we also talk about listening to the language. When you learn those words that you're talking about, you can also listen for the language that a leader is using. If I'm a junior trying to convince a leader, I need to listen to the language in order to use back at them the right language. So, for example, and you can probably talk about this. If the leader has a tendency to be short, sharp, bullet points, high energy, quick action, don't go into long, drawn out stories and metaphors and analogies. You just lost them, right?
Yeah. I'm laughing because I love to do a build up before I launch into the core. But I had a leader, and I learned to love his style after. It really hit me he was very much to the point. We had a saying that he would say, be bright, be brief, and be gone. So I had difficulty initially with my rambling style where I'm building this story and building up. And then I learned that and especially through Acumatch, knowing my traits, I learned how to instead of staying in that reflective mood, to just come out, build your elevator speech, and in 90 seconds, not more than a minute or two, get your point across. Because some of them, they don't have the time. And it's not that they're rude, but that's their nature, and because they're extremely busy. So you must plan what you have to say. You must plan what you have to say.
Yeah. And we call it sometimes, speak their language, right? And understanding how they process information is really the power of Acumatch. When someone is high options or high global, even, starting with a lot of detail, you just, you're speaking Chinese to someone who speaks French, right? So the importance of listening and adjusting your style based on that. That, I think, for me, when I started, developing Acumatch, we actually had a thing called language of influence. Okay.
Yes.
And so I learned a lot from that, and it goes all the way back to my early days in IBM. So it was very interesting. But I digress. You're finding obviously some of the same experience.
Yes, especially when you're dealing with technical people. I'm seeing some questions coming in that deal with that style, because sometimes you're so technical that communication, you're not really adept at communicating appropriately. And I use the term appropriately, not that you're speaking anything badly, but you come across, you speak ones and zeros, techie language, when what is required is a more empathetic, as well as you need to use words to fit the context. And this is it with your traits. A lot of the more what we've seen with the engineers and so is that one of the areas is that the self.
Oh, you froze. We'll see if Astor returns momentarily. Just a connection issue. But yeah, the whole dynamics of that, it comes down to observing the behaviors and paying attention to your own behavior, because you can have the best intention in the world, but as we often do, we see things through our own lens, and we need to start to see things from other people's perspective. And our behavior is how we interact with people. We can't interact telepathically. It's only through our actions and what we do. And I'm just going to see if Astor is able to get back on. Just tech issues. And we will continue. Let me just check some of the messages here. Excellent. Thanks for the feedback. It looks like everyone is in agreement with what we're talking about. If not, I'm going to try and wrap it up. This was intended more talking to Astor about his experience. I don't want to steal that away and talk about my own experience, but I appreciate your attendance and the feedback. It looks like we covered quite a bit already. So again, thank you, and we'll do this again just to catch up with Astor, but we're doing these podcasts. Here he comes.
We are having a thunderstorm right now.
Okay.
So we lost electricity, we lost connections. Just apologize. Living in the tropics and in the Caribbean is like that.
Yeah.
But we were speaking about
we were just talking about the behaviors.
Yeah, and it's something that they don't teach us in the engineering school or in computer school. So sometimes when you're technical, the softer skills are lost.
Yeah,
and you can see it in the traits. It manifests also in your traits. So I would advise individuals to do some softer skills, get to know what your emotional intelligence is, so that you can communicate with individuals, not just in ones and zeros, but really communicate with them in meaningful ways. But that takes practice. And that's one of the things too that we carry you through. I carry you through, because I had certain challenges with that. My conversations would be extremely technical. And when the individual just wanted an answer on whether it was feasible or not. So.
Excellent. And it comes down to the behavior. People can't read your mind. I'm not saying that.
Comes down to behavior.
Comes down to behavior. Yeah. We communicate through observing others. We get triggered by observing others. Those observations are what trigger us, and how we respond is really the important piece of first being aware of how you are programmed. You and I use the language of programming, but how you've been conditioned through your career, right?
And various interactions that you've had while growing up is extremely important, because those shape you. So I would recommend anyone who is aspiring to senior roles, it's not just about the competence of doing your job. And that's why we always say that the squeaky wheel gets the grease, because the squeaky wheels can talk, all right, and sell themselves. And you may be more competent in your job, but your inability to articulate your words and your phrases, it limits you. And that's reality. So come, let me coach you. I'll help you with that. I'll help you with that. I've had to overcome those things. And I had some pretty good coaches and mentors who helped me. I did not do it alone. I'd love to play the superhero, but it wasn't built alone. There's some other names. I don't want to call names here, but there are a number of individuals. Indy Nagui. Indy has helped me a lot. Individuals from other places promote. I've had various coaches, and I've also had a very good boss for years, Eugene, who took time. So bosses out there, supervisors,
Yeah.
you need to invest in your people. And it's not just investing by sending them on courses. Speak to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let them know honestly
Mhm.
where you need them to improve, or you're not going to fix them. It's not about fixing people. It's just getting individuals to be aware so that they can be the best person that
Yeah.
they can be.
Yeah. In the webinar this week, I was also talking about that same topic of leadership, investing in their people, instead of leaders just approaching the team and I'm going to use the word puking all over them. What
Yes.
you as a leader want to have. Why don't you start by asking them what they need? Okay. Why not start
Yeah.
the conversation? How can I help you guys to be more successful before giving the new direction? And so more listening. I call it the incubator process.
Yes.
Think,
Yes.
think think of everybody as your role is to elevate them to be the best that they can be. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It takes time, but it's worth it. And when you get a team that gels, in one of my incarnations in work, I had a young team that was just wild. Um, I, I was working as a different role as a manager, but I was also learning because I was accustomed to being a senior executive, but I had stepped down and moved into a managerial role. And my team was young, very talented. When you have a team that is very young and very bright, constituted of bright people, you have challenges.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
you have to know how to harness the different attributes of each of them. And you have to harness it. So sometimes you'll have to just come and say your way or no way, but also you have to recognize that you're not the expert in this field. They are. And really work with them and
Yeah.
build them. And a number of them I've done this Acumatch survey on, right? So that I know really what traits to work with. And
Yeah.
and I would say right now I'm extremely proud of them. I'm no longer there. I've retired.
Yeah.
And they have been able to carry themselves about in an exemplary manner. And I
Yeah.
would encourage them to continue to know their worth. And that's what it's about. It's individuals. You must know your value and the value you bring. And you
Mm.
do bring value. But what is maybe the challenge is getting that value aligned with the strategic direction of the organization that you work for, or the strategic direction of your own career if you are an entrepreneur or business. The numbers not going to happen just by you putting them down. You have to see the areas and you have to work and you have to get a coach to help you, not to give you the answers, but to unleash that potential that is within your subconscious,
Yeah.
that you can really achieve those milestones that you want to and go where you want to go or need to go.
It accelerates their success.
Yes.
As I'm just looking at the time, and we're running out of time here a little bit, but I just wanted to kind of wrap up a little bit and say, I love your coaching style, the way you approach working with people, how you listen to them, and you help them expose their I don't want to say inner demons, but actually work through their challenges and their strengths and so forth. Um, but I think the important thing in that, what makes you great, if I can say that about you, I've known you for a few years, is you've done it yourself. You've recognized that I
Yes.
need to change. And I've done it too. I've created a lot of this stuff, but I've had to change, right?
Yes.
So I think that gives you so much power as
Yeah.
well to recognize it in others and help others. So
Yeah.
love that about you. Congratulations. It's been great. And
Thank you very much, Maggie.
Yeah. Guys, if you have questions, you know where to find Astor. We'll be online as usual, looking for any questions that we can help people with. So, again, Astor, thank you so much for taking the time today and being amazing. You're just an amazing person. Thank you.
Thank you, Nagui. Thank you all for coming online. Thank you. I've watched the names, so I know who's here. I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Great.
But have a great day, everyone. And remember, your career and the path that you take is in your hands. Okay? But I'm here to assist. Take care.
Beautiful. All right.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Nagui.